morning, students. In this session, we are going to see about content providers and also how to share the data between these content providers. We can see myself, Dr.N.Shirisha, Associate Professor, MLR Institute of Technology and Dept of CSE. So, what is a content provider? Whenever you use different Android phones, so maybe of smaller resolutions or longer resolutions, the content need to be available. It needs to be available. Then only you can access either contacts or any other. Okay. Suppose the best example for content providers is you have installed WhatsApp in the new mobile phone. Whenever you wanted to install WhatsApp, you need few contacts to be get loaded. Then only you can use WhatsApp. Without contacts or without the destination addresses, you cannot use WhatsApp, right? So what we'll do, whatever the contacts we have, all those contacts we try to import it into your data, into your WhatsApp only. So that is known as what? Your content provider. Your content is being provided to any other application, in this case WhatsApp. Okay, hope you understood. So content providers can be an application manager that can access data stored by itself or stored by the other applications. So when you are sharing a status to your WhatsApp, suppose you wanted to share the same status to even Facebook story, then what you will do, you can do it. The content is being shared from one application to other application. That is an example. So they encapsulate the data and provide mechanism for defining data security. So even data sharing is possible. That data sharing should be possible in very limited way, because it should not affect the security part or the privacy part. So content providers are the standard interfaces that connects data in one process with the code running in the other process. Let us say this as a WhatsApp and this as a Facebook. The content or the story can be shared. So implementing a content provider has many changes. What are they? You can configure a content provider to let other applications securely access, modify your app. This is a content provider implementation, and you have stored your data somewhere. It can access the data and it can share it to the other applications. Very simply, your data is stored in your phone, and from this phone you are uploading it to, from the phone you are uploading your photo to your WhatsApp status, and from this WhatsApp status to your Facebook story, you are trying to share the same data here to here. That means what? There's no any threat to your image. You are just sharing it. The image is being shared to your WhatsApp and also to your Facebook. Number of other classes rely on the content provider class. What are the other classes? Abstract threaded sync adapter. One more class is abstract threaded sync adapter, cursor adapter and cursor loader. Cursor adapter, cursor loader, which are used for grabbing that data, saving that data into the content provider, load that data into the content provider of the other application, for which we need these other classes also. That is cursor adapter, cursor loader, abstract threaded sync adapter. So you need to own the content provider to implement a custom search suggestions, okay, to explore your application data to widgets, to copy paste the complex data or files from your application to other application, like this also. So whenever you need to own your content provider, you implement the custom search suggestions. Nowadays in your iOS systems, if you wanted to change your wallpapers, you are getting a few suggestions also, along with the template and the theme, and the image is cropped or modified and all. So such things can be happen, or such things can be suggested, can be loaded using this content providers. So whatever the application data you have, that can be loaded to the widgets. That is also possible using this content provider class. Then Android framework includes the content providers that manage data such as audio, video, images, and personal contact information. If you see you have installed a Facebook Messenger, then it will prompt you that it be synchronized with your contacts, manage contacts that are there in your mobile or not. So contact manager is helping to load all those contacts which are there in your contacts to your Facebook Messenger. So like that, one application is using the content of the other application. So you can see some of them listed in the documentation, where Android dot provider package, in that they are visible, and some restrictions are also there, and these providers are accessible to any Android application. Any Android application, like any versions, can be used. A content provider can be used to manage access to variety of data storage resources. It can manage the access to variety of data storage resources, including both structured such as SQLite relational database and unstructured such as image files. So structured means you may take the contact information. Unstructured, you may take the image informations. So all such data can be managed in between the different Android applications and variety of data storage sources. So content provider presents data to external applications as one or more tables. So as I told you, one example is to WhatsApp to Facebook. Second example is from contacts to Facebook Messenger, so on. So a row represents an instance of some type of data provider. It collects, and each column in the row represents individual piece of data. So you'll have a row column interface. So you have name, number. You may have so many data under these columns. So all that can be retrieved and been sent to the other applications. Content provider coordinates access to data storage layer in your application for a number of different APIs or components. So that if you have seen different methods, different classes like cursor adapter, or different classes like these adapter classes, they can be used for these content provider to access the data. So sharing access to your application data with other application, sending data to the widget, returning the custom search suggestions through search framework, using search recent suggestions provider. Recent search suggestions provider means what? Whatever you have been recently, like if you see Amazon, you will search few things, and it will show you based upon your search classification, that it will classify the data which are related to that level, and it will show you in the on the screen, which it will show you the other images which are related to this on the screen. So that is one example. Search recent suggestion provider, synchronizing application data with your server using an implementation of abstract threaded sync adapter. Means what? For research suggestion provider, you need one API so that it will synchronize the data into the server, and it will show you all the images which are relevant to it. So that relevant data is being shown by using this class abstract threaded sync adapter. It will synchronize using those adapters all the threads. So loading the data into your UI using cursor loader. So once this thread is known, then it is loaded into your application by using this cursor loader. And the best example for this content provider is nothing but contacts application that exposes the user information to other application. Media store also is one of the example, which allows other applications to access or store the media files. Suppose if you have any images into your gallery, so you can load those images into your WhatsApp and you can send it to others, or whatever the images that are being sent by the contacts. Within the contacts, they can be stored into your gallery, and they can even store into our Google Cloud also. So whenever we require, we are trying to retrieve them and we use them. So that is also possible with the help of this content provider. And this is a diagram which show you a relationship between the content provider and all the different other components. So you have a content provider which is making use of abstracted synchronized adapter for synchronization with the application that you are using. Okay. And this content provider is also making use of the class cursor loader, which is used to know the sync adapter and load all of them. And it is also used by the widgets, all the different widgets like calendar. Even you can keep the wallpaper for the calendar also. So you need an image. Your image will be in the photos or the gallery. So you have to synchronize this gallery with your calendar. So one of the best example. And content providers search whatever the Amazon, the searching patterns are being loaded, are being stored, and related patterns are being loaded again by using this content provider. And data storage, instead, if you don't have data in the database, and you can load anything, so data storage is important. And apart from that, there are other applications which is making use of content provider by using all these different classes or all these different methods, say cursor loader, say widget, say search, or data storage, anything can be used by the other applications. So that is possible only with the content provider. And implement the content provider class. How to implement the content provider classes? We need few methods. So content provider instance manages access to the structured set of data. Structured set of data is in terms of rows and columns. By handling the request, you need to send the request and you have to get the responses. This is a request and this is the response from the other application. All forms of access eventually call content resolver. Content provider will provide the information. Content resolver will be loaded and give to the other application, that is resolving, which then calls concrete method of content provider to get access. What are the required methods? You have query method. One is a query method. There are 6 abstract methods that you can be implemented using this concrete subclass, and all the methods except onCreate. onCreate when we use when app compact activity is being created, we use onCreate method. So are called by the client application that is attempting to access your content provider. Until and unless you create your application you with the different components like view or edit text, so it is used to access the content that has been given by the user. So best example, registration form, name, email, mobile, we have seen in the previous sessions. So the user has to give his data, then only it can be stored. The data can be stored in the data storage area, and the content can be provided by using a content provider. So what are the methods that are required? One is a query. What is query? Retrieve the data from provider. Use the arguments to select a table to query. What are the arguments? To select table to query. Rows and columns to return. Rows and columns to return. Whatever the because we are calling it a structured set of data, you will be having number of rows and number of columns. So those can be retrieved by using this query, and sort the order of results and return the data using a cursor object. You have cursor loader, cursor adapter classes, which is used to synchronize with the data that is being available and that are need to be loaded into other application. So one is a query. The other one is a insert. Insert, as a name indicates, it inserts a new row into the provider. How we are inserting a new row into the table in the same way. Use the arguments to select the destination table to get the column value to use and return the content URI to the newly inserted row. Next, update. Whatever the data, suppose you have one Chanti 100. Suppose I wanted to update this 100 to 80. Then update existing rows. You are updating the data. So use the arguments to select the table. Say this table is a student table. So you need to update the table. Rows to update what? This row is needed to update. To get the updated column values, we are using this update function. Return the number of rows updated. Similarly, delete. If you want to delete any rows from the provider, use the arguments to select the table, rows to delete, and returns the rows deleted. Get a type. So, get a type means what is the type of data. Suppose if it is an image, you need to give the type of data as MP3. If it is an audio file, MP3. If it is a video file, MP4. Like that, whatever the file extension is there, based on that, what is the type of data, to know that you are getting a get type. Return the MIME type. MIME is multi-purpose internet mail extension. Okay, multi-purpose internet mail extension type corresponding to the content URI. Means what is the type of extension, whether .png or .jpeg or .mp4. Okay, something like this. So that type of data is been given. This method describes in more detail to implement the MIME type section. Next, on create. So we all know insert, update, delete are used to modify the database or modify the structured data by using a content provider. Get type to know the type, and on create is used to initialize the provider. You are creating something. There is no existing data. You are creating something. That's a initialize your provider. Android system calls this method immediately after it creates your provider. The system calls this method immediately after it creates, and your provider is not created until resolver object tries to access it. Your resolver should try to give the access, then only it can create. The content provider can be created. So in that way, your content resolver and content provider both are related to each other. And these methods have the same signature as identical to the content resolver method. So here, whatever query, insert, update, delete, get type, get on create, whatever the methods we have discussed, all these methods are used by content provider as well as by the content resolver also. So both are similar. Now, by using the content provider, data can be shared across the applications. From the starting of the session, I'm telling you, between the Facebook to WhatsApp, between contacts to Facebook Messenger, the data is being shared. Suppose if you want to send any message, text message, you need contact. So you need to load from the contact, then only you can send any type of message to the destination. So data can be shared across applications. The content provides a set of data wrapped up in a custom API to read or to write. Application process have to register themselves as a provider of data. Other application can request Android to read or write the data through a fixed API. So APIs are used either to make any type of CRUD operations like read or update or delete or insert or any type of operations. If you wanted to do, you need different APIs. So content provider API has a methods to perform different operations. Those are CRUD operations, and we have seen a few of them like query, insert, delete, okay, etc. And contacts is the best example that exposes user information and media store that allows other application to access stored the media files. Suppose if you are using a say Google Maps, then it will try to know your current location. Suppose if you are using the WhatsApp and you are trying to share your location from one end to the other end, there also you need to share the location or share the current location or share the live location if he wants to know where are you from time to time. So like that, whenever you are having some data to be shared from one application to other application, in such cases you can use this content provider, and sharing the data is possible by using different APIs of the content providers. So there is some standard methods: insert, query, update and delete to access the application. And you need to assign URI. What is that URI? Content colon slash slash. This is starting with content colon slash slash double slash, that will recognized by the applications as the content provider. Okay. Create class first. These are the steps you need to know how for the content provider. First, you need to create a class for content provider. Define the content URI. Implement all the unimplemented methods like insert, update, query, delete, get type, all these methods. So we have discussed in the previous slide. So implement them. Then declare the content provider in the manifest file. In the manifest file, how to make the changes for SMS manager, contact manager, for wallpaper, setting the wallpaper, all that we have seen. So like that, you have to declare it for the content provider also in the Android manifest file. So these are the few attributes that you need to know. What is the path? Content colon slash slash. This is the URI. Should start with this value. Authority is nothing but the namespace of the content provider, which passes the Java package name. And path. Path is the virtual directory within the provider that identifies what kind of data being requested. So that path need to be given. ID, this is an optional part that specifies the primary key of the record being requested, and this part being ignored to access all the data. So content, this is a major part that you need to give, and authority to know the namespace, and path also to know what type of virtual directory, what will be the path where the content provider has to identify it. So all these three are mandatory. ID is negligible. Add data. So whenever you wanted to share the data between the applications using the content provider, you need to add the data. You need to override the insert method. If data inserted successfully, it will return the URI value associated with the ID. If we passed content package name sample, this method will return content package name sample, its value. What is that value? That value. Similarly, updating the data. Update data is to update any value within the records. This method will return the number of rows that are been updated. Delete method, number of rows that have been deleted, that value will be returned. We need to register the content providers in the manifest file. In what way? So you have manifest file and you have application. And before closing your application, you also try to give provider / provider, and then you will have intent filter, then activity, so if this is the case, in between the application, you need to give this provider. What are the attributes of the provider? Provider name and authorities. Name may be my provider, that whatever you are giving. Then package name dot my provider will be the authority. So how we have given a separate database mydb.java, in the same way, you need to go to your package name, go to others and content provider, you will get the content provider window. So for that, whatever the name you give, that will be dot my provider here. Okay. So this need to be added in your manifest file to get the permissions of the content provider, so that whatever the APIs you are using or whatever the modifiers you are using, like insert, update, delete, get queries, what are the queries you were trying to execute, can be loaded and executed. So this is about the content provider class. Hope you all understood. Thank you all.